Liverpool Daily News. It's a happy one today, as it always is when coming off the back of a Premier League win. Not been as many of them as we'd like this season, but this was one of the biggest of the lot, up against Spurs away from home. It was always going to be a tricky fixture against not only a Spurs team, but an Antonio Conte Spurs team. Emmet, are you pleasantly surprised that Liverpool ended up being able to come away with 3 points?
I am, especially when you consider that Liverpool drew twice with Tottenham last year. Only collected 2 points from six, and going into the game, you thought, considering that, obviously Liverpool had beaten Napoli in midweek, but as good as that was, and it was as good of a confidence booster as it was, both teams had already qualified, so there really wasn't a whole lot riding on the match itself. And then going into the Spurs game, obviously Liverpool are on the back of two consecutive Premier League defeats, so confidence really wasn't that high, in the sense that I expected Liverpool, to leave North London with all 3 points. So I was pleasantly surprised the way it all kind of panned out, and it was a good performance from Liverpool.
Yeah, and I suppose the man to deliver potentially unexpected results is often Mohamed Salah. He was key, wasn't he? And it was interesting because I suppose if you looked at the team sheet kind of on paper, you'd think, where's he playing? Because I mean, Nunez and Firmino were both in there, but equally, both of Salah's telling contributions did come from that kind of central role again, didn't they?
Yeah, and I think that's kind of maybe a hint of where Salah's future lies for Liverpool. I think we could see an almost Cristiano Ronaldo-esque movement off from the wing into the central areas. Because that, I think, obviously Salah is a finisher, and for all of his speed and all how good he is, cutting in off the right, you put him in front of goal, he will score goals. I think if Jurgen Klopp deploys him more centrally, you will see Salah back in better form and score more goals. And we saw that, yesterday with two finishes that were just, both of them were gorgeous finishes. The first one was kind of, I love those kind of snap finishes where it's just one touch, then second touch, bang, into the bottom corner. And then the second one was just gorgeous, like a lovely dink over Hugo Lloris. So, yeah, I mean, I think that could be, we could see that being Salah's future. He's pushed more into the central position. And I think it could actually extend his career, to be honest. You could see him the next 3, 4, 5 years easy, playing down the centre of the goal, not having to worry about, hugging touchlines or, trying to skip past players, out in the wider areas. You put him in the penalty area or in a central position and he will score goals. And we saw it yesterday.
Yeah, both lovely finishes, as you say. I mean, Eric Dyer looked like he sort of handed in the second one on a plate, but there was still plenty to do, and he did it in style. Yeah, everyone in the comments, please do let us know where you see Salah's future lying. Anything else on the game, and we'll be sure to pick out some of them and have a chat about them. We've heard from Bruce already. He says, well done to the lads. But then he says, I'm worried that our midfield is still not providing enough cover for Trent, which is just exposing him. We need a strong right-sided central midfielder to help Trent. Otherwise, we may never see the best of him again. I suppose if we were picking for negatives from the game, it was maybe a bit of a testing one for Trent. I mean, you'd also say in the first half, some of the passing range on display was just, ridiculous as usual. But defensively, there were one or two squeaky moments again, weren't there?
Yeah, and I mean, I think we kind of all know at this point that that's the thing with Trent. It's high risk, high reward. He's not defensively great, and we all know that. But then, how many right backs can ping 60-yard diagonal balls, into the feet of, Darwin Nunez? There's not many of them around. So I think we have to take that with Trent at this point, and also because it's November. And feasibly, Liverpool aren't going to sign a midfielder in January either. So Jurgen Klopp is just going to have to basically work with what he has until the summer to try and rectify the midfield problems. So there's not much he can do at this stage. And as you said, defensively there was some awkward moments. But I think Konate coming back has been a massive boost. Because Joe Gomez and your man, Joe Matip, have obviously Matip's been injured, but even before that, his form wasn't the best. Joe Gomez fluctuates between brilliant and car crash, depending on the game. So, and since Konate has come back, I think Liverpool have looked a little bit more secure. Still not completely secure in terms of how they were last season, but yeah, he's definitely brought some solidity to the defense. And I think Liverpool this season they're going to get certain periods in games where they're looking a bit defensively ropey, but as long as they can hang in there, and then when you get Salah or Nunez up the other end that can score goals, and then Nunez's case just cause pure chaos anytime he gets on the ball. I think Liverpool always been with a chance, and they have. We've seen this season that Liverpool have been really inconsistent. They beat Man City, but then they beat Nottingham Forest or Leeds. So I think as long as Liverpool do enough to kind of stay in the top four or keep in the race to top four, then we can work on stuff in the summer and try and make the team better, especially in midfield.
Yeah, the way this season is going, you wouldn't be surprised if after beating Napoli and Spurs, we had managed to lose to Derby and Southampton before the World Cup. But hopefully not. Hopefully we can get through. And another win against Southampton would really be a positive note to end the kind of half season on, if you like, before the World Cup break. And then, yeah, who knows what will happen in January in terms of any activity. But even without any new signings, it'll be a chance to sort of regroup, come back. And if we're still in touch with the top four at that point, which now it looks like there's a decent chance we will be, then yeah, who knows what the second half of the season could bring. It's a good point you make about Konate, though. I mean, you'd sort of whisper it, but he does have those kind of Van Dijk-esque qualities, just in terms of physically, he's big, he's imposing, he's strong, but he's got that pace across the ground to match. And I mean, people have almost suggested in the past, maybe we could put Van Dijk on Trent's side, maybe that would be the answer. But then you'd be losing one of the few centre backs who's so comfortable on the left. It's a rare trait. So Klopp's never gone for that one, but having a kind of mini Van Dijk to put on Trent's side could maybe be part of the solution. Like you say, I think Bruce is right to mention the midfield as part of the issue. Maybe like when Henderson was the right-sided midfielder and was a bit younger, a bit more mobile, that did make the side look a little bit more secure. And Harvey Elliott has had a brilliant season, I think, so far. But equally, he's never going to be your best man for defending either. So yeah, there's a combination of factors. It's not all on Trent, and I suppose you'd look at someone like Joao Cancelo as well. I mean, the media don't tend to focus on him quite as much as they do Trent, because I mean, when you have all of the England stuff to factor in as well, it's just such a perfect point of discussion, isn't it? But if you wanted to look at Cancelo, he got sent off at the weekend. He got spun by Salah not so long ago. Every sort of incredibly creative fullback is going to come with some sacrifices, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think the thing about it is that a lot of Trent's mistakes, as you say, he's English, so the English media are going to magnify any mistakes that he does make. And also, too, a lot of the time his mistakes tend to come when Liverpool either draw or lose. Whereas, as you say, Cancelo gets sent off, but Man City still won. So it papers over the cracks, so to speak, or his issues aren't examined in the same way that Trent's is. But Trent's always seem to come when Liverpool draw or lose. And as you say, when Jordan Henderson was 2 or 3 years younger, he kind of could have covered for, he could have masked Trent's deficiencies defensively. But as Henderson has kind of aged, and Harvey Elliott, for as good as he is attacking, he doesn't really offer the same defensive cover as, a peak Jordan Henderson. And I think maybe, a right-sided box-to-box midfielder is maybe an area where, Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool will maybe look, next summer. Maybe someone like Nicolo Barella, who plays that similar type position for Inter, would be, a perfect signing to make, in that he can cover defensively and he can bomb up in the attack. So I think, that could be something that the club will look into in the summer. But I think, as kind of I said earlier, you basically just kind of need to hang on until then, and hopefully, Liverpool can put a run together. And I think maybe post World Cup break, because Liverpool don't have that many players actually going to the tournament, so we could see a completely different Liverpool come, Boxing Day, when a lot of players get a rest, get to recharge the batteries. Jurgen Klopp can actually get some proper training in. Because we also remember too that this season started very early, and I think Jurgen Klopp has kind of not complained about it, but he said it has been an issue where there hasn't been a real preseason training camp as such. So with this mini break and Liverpool not having too many players away in Qatar, Liverpool could be a different team come, the end of December. So we have to keep that in mind as well. This start as rocky as it has been, come January, we could be forgetting all about it. But I do think, yeah, as you said, a midfield is still an issue and it needs to be sorted. It's not going to be sorted in January. We have to be realistic about it. It will be a summer thing. But we just need to hang on until then.
Yeah, I suppose it's an interesting one, and I suppose to end on a kind of positive note, because I mean you can't really not do that after a win against Spurs. One of the best results of the season. I don't want to spend too long sort of berating Trent, berating the midfield. It was a good performance all round, really. And another standout is a man you mentioned earlier, Darwin Nunez. You mentioned he brings the chaos. He certainly does that, but also maybe a surprisingly controlled and measured assist for Salah for the opener. He sort of picked out his pass. He seemed to have a slightly cooler head than usual. None of this. I mean, he'd already got it out of his system maybe with the kind of first time volley at Lloris a few minutes earlier. But yeah, it's good to see that side of his game developing as well, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the funny thing with Nunez is that he can go from, as you said, that like his cushion control and he lays it off for Salah's first goal is brilliant. And I don't think I've seen any player in a long time go from potential world-class brilliance to Sunday League stuff within the space of 5 minutes. Like, it's just, he's chaos. Whenever, whether he means it or not, there's just chaos that surrounds Darwin Nunez at the moment when he plays. But you can see that there's a diamond there. It's just very unpolished at the moment. But then he does do things like, he lays a perfect layoff for Salah's first. And then he lose something completely stupid 5 minutes later. But I think at this point you have to take what you get with Nunez. But obviously over time, Klopp will polish that diamond and he becomes his potential is massive. But at the moment, you're just basically seeing a raw version of Darwin Nunez. But yeah, his layoff for Salah was fantastic. And there was some very good moments from Nunez yesterday. And I think they actually make a really good pairing, Nunez and Salah.
Yeah, for sure. And Bruce mentions, of course, Jota and Diaz back not too far away after the break. We should have Diaz back straight away, hopefully, when matches return, and then Jota. They've been a little bit more sort of woolly on the time frame, but hopefully not too long after the World Cup. So that'll be a big boost to an attack that's already firing. And yeah, 3 points against the Saints would set us up very nicely for that. Hopefully Liverpool can, for once, keep this momentum going in a season that's been far too up and down. We've hoped that we've turned the corner in the past, but maybe this is the one. We're certainly hoping so, and we'll keep you up to date with all of the Liverpool goings on over on Liverpool.com and here on Blood Red. Today we've got the Champions League draw to bring you, so be sure to keep an eye out for that. We'll be covering that for you live on YouTube. Bayern Munich looks highly likely. I think there's something like a 37% chance because of the various permutations of the UEFA groups. But there's a couple of other options, some good, some bad. Benfica, Porto still on the table, and Real Madrid also on the table. So we'll see how that one goes a bit later on. Be sure to join us for that. In the meantime, thanks very much for watching.